So recently, there's this little game called Mass Effect, this Legendary Edition that came out last week, I think last week, and I was just kind of like, wow. I remember the days. I think it came out on the Xbox 360, and for a game like that, for having like such good graphics, like back then, it still holds up to the like today's times, even though it's the brightness on it's like really dim and contrast is off, but from 360 graphics and all from what we had to work with, like that was like groundbreaking for what it could do back in the day. And just replaying the game, I only beat the first one because I took my time playing it, and just reliving like all my choices. I was just kind of like, wow, I completely forgot I could do this all over again. And it was just like, and I just found out too that the final boss, you don't even have to face the final boss. You could just talk him into killing himself. I was like, what? I could have had a choice like that. And I was like, I was playing full Renegade. Well, not mostly Renegade, but most of the time I was doing Renegade choices. But I wasn't really full on Renegade. I just, I did some Paragon moments because I feel like, okay, sure, he wasn't a total d bag. But
Yeah,
most of all, like the game and everything, like it just made me appreciate the Mass Effect trilogy because like I think that was one thing that was different from like other games was that all your choices from like the first game had a positive and negative effect for the sequels like 2 and 3. I think that was like the most like it like all your choices mattered. And that I think that's what like set it like made like it made like a new trend in games cuz like I remember seeing like a behind the scenes video, and like the script for like Mass Effect was like I don't know like the first Harry Potter book, like that was like their first script, and then for Mass Effect 2 it was like the size of like Harry Potter 5, and it was just like 1,000 page script. I was like, oh yeah, those are all the choices you can make in this game. I was like, that's insane.
yeah, no, I never really played these games when I was when they first came out, and then I ended up picking up all of them. Not the legendary one that just released, but probably 4, 5, 6 years ago at the most. On Origin, they had a deal for like all three games for like 20, 30 bucks, and I bought them all. I played them, and they were amazing games even then. Because I think I don't know if this came out on PS3 or not, but I had a PS3 in that era of games, so. Yeah, this is a great game. I'm curious to see. I'd love to play it or look. I haven't watched any of your gameplay or anything on it, but what's the big difference coming from? I mean, I don't know how much you remember the original, but how much different is it? Is it pretty much just the exact same updated graphics, or how is there any other new components to the game that they added in from the original version?
They mostly focus on the first one because that was like the most like outdated. And I remember in the first one, since if you like pick a class, you like say if like I always play Vanguard. I think Vanguard's probably like my favorite class. And I remember in the first game you specialized in like a pistol, a sniper, and a shotgun, and that's all you had to use because you couldn't use an assault rifle, you couldn't use another weapon, so you were stuck to those three main weapons. I remember that. And so, and what they did with they reworked the in the trilogy in the remaster. They're like, here, you can use every gun now instead of like having certain ones. So that was something they did. I know they reworked the combat a little bit because like oh man, what a difference between 1 and 2, because 2 is more smoothly, and like 1 you're just kind of like all right, just got to deal with it, man. You just that was like the only tough part was just the combat was the only troubling part, and some abilities mostly work half the time. And I will say Singularity, the most OP ability in the whole entire game. I don't care what anyone says. So all you had to do was just like you put like the stasis in the air and they all float up in the air. You just melt them down with your gun. Um, so that was that. Yeah, they just reworked the combat, and you can use all your weapons now. You're not like limited to like a certain gun now with your class. Um, I think that's really about it. Really, they just updated the graphics, and they added all the DLC to each game too. So there's like so much content. And I remember starting the my playthrough to Mass Effect 2 when I finished the first one. Right off the gate, as soon as you get done with the tutorial, all of a sudden you got all the DLC unlocked. I was like, oh my god, I didn't even know like there's like 5 more characters you can recruit. So that's like more added content. But overall, I'm having so much fun with my experience with Mass Effect. I made my characters like almost to a T like me. It has my mini stash on my upper lip. It has like my bowl cut hair. I was laughing so hard because I made it close to what I look like, and it's so funny. I was having such a blast. I was like, dude, this guy looks like me. I couldn't take myself seriously being a renegade.
So how much is the game going for right now, the legendary version?
Oh, it's a full price game, $60, but
Okay.
with all the content and the updated stuff, playing in 4K and like 60 FPS, huh? It's breathtaking. And the cool thing was like I know like some reviews had like some crashes here and there, but I never had a well, take that back. I had only two times where it glitched out, and it was I accidentally broke it. I don't know how I did it, but I did it. And there's like sometimes where like in combat especially, like if I'm moving forward, my character's moving backward, so I had to like pause the game and I don't know, do something, and then it worked again. But other than that, I just remember like just two gameplay stuff that didn't work. uh but thankfully in the number in the second game it has autosave. In the first one it doesn't, and it really pissed me off. So like I did like from the beginning of the mission, and then I died, and I'm playing on insanity, so I'm playing on the hardest difficulty. And I was like, oh no, I hope there was an autosave, and there wasn't an autosave. So I had to go all the way back and do it all over again. I'm like, that was like the one thing I didn't like about it, was there was no autosave in Mass Effect 1. But in 2 and 3, I'm so happy there is.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, so yeah,
That's awesome. I'd love to check it out.
if you love sci-fi fantasy, if you love like having your choices being affected by like later penalties or rewards. So say if you save like a race or you extinct one, it's gonna bite you in the ass one way or another, or it's gonna help you. And that's why I really really loved Mass Effect a lot. I appreciate like all the choices you did. There's some consequence and reward in the end. And let's see what else. And I just wish like BioWare, the people who made the original trilogy, just like this is your audience. Like this is what we loved, and you're making like a spinoff to Mass Effect Andromeda. I didn't play it because I knew it was gonna be total ass. And they made Anthem, and Anthem was a flop too. And now it's just kind of like, well, what do we do next? Now they announced they're making Mass Effect 4, so it's kind of like, well, spoiler alert, Shepard's not, well, he might be there. I don't know yet. Well, because
He
they had
came
a
back in the second or third one, didn't he?
he died in the very beginning of number 2, and then he came
Yeah,
back. Then he
yeah.
came back
And
to
then he comes
life.
back.
But I'm saying like, oh, I didn't play the uncut version of the third one because the ending was so it didn't have any closure to like all your choices you made with your characters and the people around you. So
Let's hear different though.
that irritated me the most. You didn't get closure, and then they added on the uncut ending, so you get to play that and see what happens at the end of everything. So I guess it kind of wraps up the story. And you know how they do like the whole X-Men thing, is with the chess what they were playing in the X-Men one, where Magneto or number 3, and he tries to like move the chess piece, and it moves like a tad bit.
Yeah.
That's basically what happens in number 3 at the very end, where you just see like a supposedly dead Shepherd, and you just hear him breathing, and it cuts. Spoiler. But yeah, but I say overall, if you have never played Mass Effect, I highly recommend you get this game. It is worth your time. You will love these characters. I think that's another good thing too, is that it kind of takes different cultures from even our world, and like pushes and like matches in with like the sci-fi, especially with like Talia. She covers her face because that's kind of like her culture, and that's kind of like cultures like over in the Middle East. Like I kind of like appreciate like things like that, but they do their whole spin on it, like their whole history of races and things like that. Um,
Cronins are like angry Irish people. No, they're
yeah,
like, aren't Aren't they like the slaves, like the historical slaves of another race or something? I can't
Yeah,
remember.
they're basically like they're basically
African
like big
Americans.
bodyguards, but they have like a disease or something like a geno. They call it the genophage. So where like they the smart aliens. I can't remember for the life what the Solarians. And they're
Yep.
the
Yep.
guys who talk really fast and they're really smart and they don't like their race because they wiped them out like X amount of years ago. So they invented like a disease to where they control their birth rate and population. And they're like, no, we don't want that. We need to repopulate and grow strong and stuff like that. And it's really cool. Like you kind of like get invested in like other side stories. Like instead of like the main mission, you get to like learn other politics and things like that. And I appreciate that a lot because I would never care to unless they like, oh, what's this genophage, what does this do, and gives them more in depth and things like that. So it's interesting. I'd say buy it whenever you get the time. When you get the time to play it, take your time with it because it is, like I said, it's worth the time just to play it, get to learn the characters, the universe, and things like that, and just get through Mass Effect 1. That's like that's probably like the thing you probably have to get through. Just get past number 1. Just the combat, like the dialogues and everything like that, the choices, perfect. It's just the gameplay that's still little clunky. But when you get to 2 and 3, it's way better. It's 100 times better.
Yeah, I mean, I can agree with you more. I mean, I haven't played the Legendary Edition, but if you haven't played Mass Effect and you're a Star Wars, Star Trek,
Yeah.
Halo fan, if you're any of those a fan of that kind of genre, you've got to pick this up if you're a gamer. I mean, it's well worth the money, especially if you haven't played it. I mean, and you don't have the games on the original system.
Mm.
Because the original one, I mean, like I said, I've only played through them. I think I've played through them once or twice, and it's awesome. It's crazy, crazy good world building, kind of like what you said with different races and how that they interact. Um, I didn't think I would care so much. I thought I was just going to speed through it and try to get the experience, but I really liked it too, and I spent a lot of time on it when I first got the games too. So
Yeah.
couldn't agree with you more.
Yep. Yeah. As I say, I'm glad you mentioned that. Yeah, if you like, Star Wars, Star Trek, all that stuff, you would love it a lot.
Yep. Yeah, it's really good. It's like an M-rated Star Trek.
Yeah, that and like even like the cutscenes too were kind of remind me of like a high budget like film, like, especially like with like when like near the end of the first one they had like some some spaceship wars and things like that. I was like, yo, it feels like I'm watching a movie. It's really cool. I love it. I love the game a lot. And I'll end it right there with all its praise and glory with that game. And Bioware, if you ever stumble upon this video, make a game like that again. That's all we ask. Don't make a spin-off of another Mass Effect Andromeda or an Anthem, even though that I never played it. I heard people play it and they didn't like it.
I never played it. Had no desire to play
Yep.
it.
Never